Hey,
Cask.
recording started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tavern Talk Podcast 69,420, where the guest is made up and the co-host does not matter. I am DM. This is GHAZZY right here, and our lovely guest for the third.
I'm not sure.
Fourth?
It's been a while.
No? Fourth.
Millionth?
Or, I don't know.
Third,
No
fourth,
one
I'm
knows.
not sure.
It's a
Millionth
regular
time.
by now.
It's another one, boys. Topic of today, Path of Exile 2. Probably talk a little bit about PoE 1 League. And then poor guy's just going to have to sit there and twiddle his thumbs while we talk about OSRS leagues for a good 30 seconds at the end of the
Nice.
podcast here.
Cool.
How you doing today, Pox?
I'm
I
great.
can talk about Tibia solo for a few minutes if it helps you guys feel better about it. So
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just, waiting. As usual, everything comes out all at once, and then we have the drought, and then it happens again, right? So that's kind of the state I'm in right now, waiting for PoE 2.
yeah, I feel that. I think nothing's happening. Everyone just feels like we're playing different games right now.
yeah.
Because we haven't had this void for so long, right? Normally it's like 3 months, and then worst case scenario delayed 4 months, but it's kind of, to me, it's like because they relaunched Settlers, which makes you kind of think like, okay, but it's a league start, but it's not really a league start. Like my brain hasn't had time to like shift into that mode yet, because I always do my normal restarts with PoE, but this one is different, right? Because this is like a reset from them. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, it is what it is, right?
I mean, I kind of enjoyed it for like a couple days. And with couple, I literally mean 2 days. And then I was like, the market was destroyed, and I like playing the markets. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? Let's just try to have fun. And then I realized I'm just forcing myself to find the little teeny bits that I'm enjoying. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Let's just do something else. Anything but.
It's funny. It's the time of the season where I'm looking at the side of the Twitch, and there's like, you got like Ziz is playing the Elden Ring with Steel, Lily's doing like Enshrouded, GHAZZY's doing like Tibia. It's like everyone's got their own. Everyone's just all separate out into the twiddling our thumbs, stalling into PoE 2 time. I did try the event. But then what took a little bit of the wind out of my sails for the event was I heard that the RNG of the maps are hourly based. So it's just, they're like set, which kind of felt a little bad.
I agree with you here. I don't like to, say bad things about GGG, but there's one thing I don't like with the way their events work. They often do hourly switch ups. It's very common, right? Where even all the way back in the day, I think like 10 years ago when Tempest League released, even Tempest was on an hourly cycle. And what happens is that, this is a big topic about like grinding the efficiency out of the game, or, but like at the same time, it's not, because if you go to sleep and you miss like a big event, like a big, divine hour or a special chaos hour, and you're gone, and then you literally wake up the next day and the items you were trying to buy quintupled in price. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I sold a perfect gold rim by accident for 35 chaos. And I'm like, why are people buying a gold rim for 35C in this event? People are like, oh, because it's perfect. But that's not really why. No, normally you can't sell a perfect gold rim in softcore for 35C. It's because everyone has so much currency. And, it's a double-sided coin, because on one side you can always pick a league mechanic to sell to people, like, harvest, and then you get a lot of currency. But it's just very weird if you're not, always online kind of trying to do that. It's just a weird feeling with the hourly. I feel like it would have been so much better if it was just all random. And then that way people can play at their own pace, and then it's just more fun. I'm guessing it has to do with resources.
Another issue is like the King's March with the boats is an effective way to get, later mirror shards, but divine orbs in general. And it's like just the campaign, when we're done with that in the first handful of hours of the league start, it was like items were selling, the lowest shit was selling for 5 to 10C already. That was the baseline, instead of the 1C items you'll normally see. And it was like, I looked at the boats and everything. It's going to take me several days before I even make even near as much as I would do from just heading on to the most effective chaos area, or the next effective like divine hour, like you said as well. Like, there's no point in caring about the King's March. It's avoided entirely.
I have like a 7 IQ version of why I kind of was bummed out about it. It's like, okay, the economy, all that makes sense. I'm seeing a thing like, okay, that actually is like a real reason. For meanwhile, I want to be like a pick-me girl where it's like, I'm special. I found a divine orb one or whatever, but then I just run into her like, oh yeah, that one's like chaos for, you know, all day right now. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't run into anything. Like I don't feel like I actually found anything. It's just, nope,
Yeah.
that one's, everyone has that. You're not special, DM. Everyone's got that one. So I just want the dopamine of like, holy shit. But, you know, instead it's following their spreadsheet.
I don't know what the prices are right now. Last I checked, it was like Divine went for 450k or something.
Yeah, it was around there. It was around there, and it was so bad because I would whisper a person and be like, "Hi, I want to buy this for 1.5 divines." Well, Awakened PoE Trade tells me that divine orbs are 300C, but then I look on the trade site and they're 450C. So then, you know, depending, you get into like not like an argument, but it becomes more of a hassle now because the rates are changing so frequently that even the price checker we use is like not accurate with that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like no, I don't want this. I just want to like get my items and go back. But it's you know, I'm happy for the people that get to enjoy it because it is something that I wanted to enjoy because of all like the new mod, not new, but just the maps are like more juicy. But I just couldn't get to the point where I don't know, everything just felt kind of weird with the event.
I mean, I think that one of the arguments that I genuinely believe a lot of people have fun with and both had and have, I guess. And it's like you drop so much currency, which incentivizes people to spend that on crafting so they can do their own crafting. That was like the most common argument I heard from people. But then, you know, when you think about it, most people don't craft because it's too complex and advanced for most people to bother learning. So they sit on all this currency and then they say, yeah, but I can craft if I wanted to, but I ain't gonna. You know, and I'm sitting here, yeah, okay. So where's the fun then? You know, it just gets really awkward, like you said.
One part that was pretty cool for me is there was a bunch of mobs that I've never got to see before because I didn't play during whatever time they were in the game before, and it seems like they brought
last
back
league.
Well, didn't they also bring back like some other mobs? So, like they got to see like TotA, like for instance, like the TotA mob is there, and there's
No. So what happened is last league, you remember All Flames?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So the mobs in this league had them passively. So basically, last league there were
Oh,
tattoo All Flames, but in this event it was just added, which made the campaign
that's
a lot
why
more
then.
difficult, but you got more loot. Yeah. So that's where the double edge. So like I remember I was in Act 1 when the event went live, and I was running to Brutus, and I almost died because there were Caldera Ravagers, which are the guys who use molten shell and spam cremation. So I'm like trying, you know, I take the waypoint, and there's just like 4 cremations just like pooping out these fireball, you know, the geysers, and I'm like, bro, my character has like 137 HP. I'm like trying to run a Brutus. So that was actually kind of interesting. That was a unique experience. I was like, okay, so it's not just the positive mobs or modifiers. It's also we got the mobs from last league from the All Flames.
It's also in Act 2, was it Fell Shrine? No, that's Fell Shrine, top left corner, the Vol Ruins, or whatever it was, that had my favorite, the Moon Dancers, and the Cold Turtles.
Yes,
I was like super excited. Yes, you get the Moon Dancers, and I see the turtle start its beam, and I'm like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, they're little
You had to run through the area or wait an hour to get through the area.
I did have PTSD at one point. I don't know which boss it was, but as I was running to Fidelitis in the bottom of Chamber of Sins, there was a pack there, and one of them was unique. And I don't remember which it was, but it gave me PTSD because I remember running TotA, and you hear like living grip or whatever earth, and then you just get one shot. And one of them said something, and I was like, oh no, it's this all over again. So it was pretty unique, at least going through the campaign.
TotA was my first league. I actually kind of missed the TotA minigame. From what I understand, it wasn't a very popular one, but it was like another tower defense-ish. So,
yeah,
you know, I kind of liked it for that reason.
I actually did a lot of group play in that league. I played with my buddy, and we literally just played it like a MOBA. Like, I ran in front with my RF build and tried to, like, tank everything until the mobs literally one-shot you with the auto attack because they overwhelm Fizz, but that's beside the point. And he would just literally backdoor, and he would run all the way in the back, and he would just start trying to capture the points. And it was just fun group play shenanigans, right? Because it actually did work until everyone started exploiting and abusing everything, like typically, right, with stun locking everything, taunt locking everything, knockback locking everything. So
I think it would have been more fun too if they did it like more pure like the auto battles from like the modded StarCraft and stuff, where you put one down and it just spawns that guy. I know it's spawning a guy, but like it spawns a guy like in a row attacking whoever they spawn, you know, and then I forget what those game modes are called, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're saying rather than like not objective based, but like where you, the player, can like go ahead and interact and fuck with stuff. You're literally just like building or setting the spawn points, and it's like a literal auto battler where
exactly.
they just keep
and
sending.
You choose what minions you want to summon. That would be kind of cool, dude.
I would have loved that, but I mean, something that GGG has always done is trying to mix these odd different game genres and then make sure that there's some element of ARPG in there, like the TotA was, you know, what it was, and then the ARPG element is that you're actually there fighting them at the same time, you know.
yeah
But I would have I'm with you on the idea that I would have preferred not being there fighting and just, you know, had an overview while watching it. This is a different game in the game. I think that would have been more fun, but I guess a lot of people wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, it's a split coin, because then you don't have you can't really do party play as well. I guess they could actually integrate that. That's not true. They could. They could just make it where, like, just like the AI, where if someone else joins and they're building and creating, then another AI comes and takes like that slot as well, right?
Yeah, that would make sense. That'd be fun.
So Path of
PoE 2
Exile.
though.
Yep. That's perfect.
Around
you got
the corner.
Great segue.
It is.
We did it.
Yeah.
It is. Getting more excited by the day.
PoE 2 though.
Is it? I forgot about it.
I mean, it was supposed to come out in June, get delayed till November. Everyone's like, yeah, let's go. Some people prepping subathons, and they're like, no, we're gonna delay it again. And now we're getting in December. But it's coming. It's finally coming. And it's soon. What, 3 days? No, 2 days?
3 days for the announcement. The 21st is when we get the announcement.
3 days for announcements. And there's a lot of question marks and whatnot, because they said that there's going to be 3 acts, so we don't get all the classes. And there's this one class I've been very curious about that they had said nothing about, because a couple of years ago they had on a couple of the game conventions, Gamescom and one in the US, where people got to play the Druid, and they had a showcase of the Druid, and then every playtest that I've been on and that ever happened after that, the Druid was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And they've said nothing about it. I know that they've reworked the structured approach of minions for the Witch, but they've said nothing about the Druid after the showcase. And now we're not getting it in the early access. Like, say something. I want to know what's happening.
It's probably not there, man. I would assume, didn't they say there was only 6 classes, and then the 6 classes that we were able to test up to 6 classes, so I'm assuming the 6 classes that people were able to test, right, will be the ones that are in the law. I mean, that's what would make sense.
Here's why. It's because if you think back of Diablo 2 and Elemental Druid, one of the elements is fire, which means naturally they're going to have an elemental spec in the Ascendancy, which means it's going to pivot a lot of the RF players, and they're not ready to release that until they can satisfy all the RF players. See, they got to be smart. I have no idea. Literally no idea.
I'm just hearing copium. I'm hearing a lot of copium.
Like, only folks can make that happen.
In Diablo 2, right, there's Elemental Druid, and one of the things he has is Maelstrom, which is like a circle around your character, but it's wind. So now they're going to just add it back as fire. It's going to be the new RF.
Okay. We can't take this away from him, GHAZZY. He needs this one. He needs the fire AoE. Actually, what is your starting class? Do you know, Pox?
I have literally no idea. I mean, naturally, I will pick something different because, like, we already know the base ascendancies. I mean, I actually don't know what they're doing with that in PoE 2, but I just want to try something new, right? See what everything feels like, and then when I discover RF, like what it actually does, I'll probably build around that. Hope that there's a lot of variance around that.
That's fair. I wonder, like, how many of the off-class skills we'll get access to. Like, do we get access to, for example, summon wolves, even though we don't get the Druid? As an example, are those skills ready to be played around? Or Righteous Fire, for example?
Oh, that's a good point. Because the skills aren't necessarily locked behind the class, right? Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Well, I mean, in the tests that we did, I don't think I saw any Druid skills, right? Like, pretty much 0 of them, so. I would assume probably not. The class I wanted to play was
saw-
Templar, but Templars
Yeah.
we haven't seen any. I think just the announcement that it like exists is pretty much the only thing. We've seen zero footage of it. Am I mistaken? I think zero footage, right?
Yeah, I don't even think I've heard of anything of Templar, so I think you're right.
No mention of it. Only statements that the base classes in the PoE1 will also be base classes in PoE2. That's basically what they've said, right? And they also said you can shapeshift into animal forms, and they've been very, very picky about making sure they use the expression in plural form. And we've only seen a bear, so we're assuming it's going to be a cat form and all those things. Is that going to be druid only, or is this something like the huntress might have access to? I have no idea.
I feel like that's going to be tied to their ascendancy.
Could be.
Wasn't there
Shapeshift?
True, actually. But wasn't there like a werewolf form like a long time ago? I was going through all of the trailers of PoE1, like the ones I missed, and there was this one video of like a werewolf cat type of.
I think you're right. I think when they first teased Druid and they talked about like they showed the morphing, it being like very I don't know the word for it, very clean. I think they showed different morphs there, but I could be wrong. Seamless. Maybe there's a term I was looking for.
So at least one other form coming in.
Please, yeah.
I'm assuming
Yeah,
GHAZZY,
maybe.
you're just playing Witch, right?
Well, I'll be. I think that because of the fact that we have 3 acts, that, and the statement that this early access should be lasting plus minus 6 months, and we don't get PoE1 until first quarter next year. I think most of us are just going to go for every single class. But yes,
Yeah.
I'll start with the Witch. But you know, I feel like there's going to be so much time that we can dive through every class and explore every corner in the entire early access before PoE1 comes out. It feels like that at least, but I hope I'm wrong. But that's how it feels. That's even with early access, that it's going to be that there's not enough content for even if you do everything and then some to cover us until PoE1 comes out, unless they're in a position where they dish out more content during this time frame as well, which they might do. Right? We don't know. Maybe they'll add a class for Christmas. Maybe they'll add a class in January. Who knows?
I think we're all. I mean, the 21st, we should find out more. Like, what are you guys expecting here? And what is it? 3 days? It's approximately 3 days, right around this time in 3 days, right? We should be getting pretty much the full announcement of everything. Do you guys have any expectations, predictions?
Not really. I have no idea what to expect. I mean, for one, they're going to summarize everything that's happened, right? And then they're going to talk about, I guess, like the future of how the release cycle and everything is going to go, right?
Yeah, I'm curious about leagues myself. That's something we haven't really got much information on. Maybe the cadence of such. I guess they probably have to finish the rest of the game first before they really start like pumping out league content. I guess it makes sense.
PoE is such a complex game. It's so hard to know like what would be considered ready for the early access and like what wouldn't, like you said, right?
I think that we won't really see much of the future scheduled clockwork planning of leagues and like that. I think that the focus will exclusively be on the EA and obviously some sort of mention around the first quarter PoE1 stuff. I think that it's more like outlining the framework of what to be expected in the PoE2. Like, are we gonna see, some sort of ascendancy nodes at all? Any ascendancy classes? Yes or no? The acts, how much we can expect to get to play, and then my hopes is that they're gonna say, well, we're looking at doing this, and it's gonna last 6 months plus minus, and that whenever we have more content ready to be deployed into early access, we will ship that in as an update to the early access. That's what I hope they're gonna do, because that will be very fun, because then we can engage with everything. And like I said, I mean, maybe they'll throw in a class, or a couple more skills was ready. Okay, let's shove them into early access. People can play with them, even if that happens in January. Just give us as much as possible. That's what I think is going to happen. But it's too soon to tell. 3 days, we'll know. What do you think, Nadim?
I'm I'm assuming we're going to get the price point. That seems to be like one of the most common questions we're seeing is like, how do you actually access it? What's the price point? The only thing I think we have like 100% confirmed is that they say people who have bought the biggest, big dick supporter pack before are going to get access or whatever. So we all know the $480 supporters are just getting in with, included within, I believe is like 100% confirmed. So at this point, we don't know whatever like the cheapest entry level for people that have never played the game types of packs are. I'm hoping that we get information related to what's going on with the other classes, like we were talking about with Druid, etc. I would like to hear more about the other classes as well, because we've seen tons and tons of footage of Monk, Mercenary, Warrior, even Witch at this point. Like we're starting to see a good amount of that too. So I would definitely like to hear about the other classes, and obviously with that comes Ascendancies, and then there's the thing that everyone wants to see, which is in-game. So those are all the things that I'm expecting and hoping to see for sure.
I think that they made a statement. The only official statement they've made that we can go by, right, is that they want to do the similar, not exactly the same. They said similar to Fall of Oriath, and the way they had it set up is three main things that I remember. The first one was that if you had spent $500 or more in your lifetime on the game, you'd get instant access. And the other one was buying a small supporter pack, which you get all the stuff you get for the money equivalent of a supporter pack plus a key to access, which is $30 for Fall of Oriath. And then the third one they had was a forum thread where you just made an account, made a comment on the forum thread, and at the top of the hour they gave away X amount of keys to random people in this forum.
That's kind of cool.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so they did that. They were something else, but those are the three main ones I remember from Fall of Oriath, right? And I think it's smart to them to say that they're going to do it similar and then end up doing the same price. I think that there's two things, right? I think that they would come off as greedy and get some negative feedback if they were to charge more, and I think that they shoot themselves in the foot for charging less. I mean, let's be real. That was what they had before. If they do it again, that's great. If they do it cheaper for whatever reason, they're losing potential revenue. So I think we're going to see something pretty much exactly like they had in Fall of Oriath is what I'm expecting on the price stuff, at least.
I kind of hope they let us buy multiple keys so we can give them away. Because, as streamers, that's something we like doing, right? So I'm hoping we can kind of buy, I want to buy, 50 keys or whatever, and you can, hand them out to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being, a one per customer thing.
I mean, we always get the small supporter pack we can buy, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I think if they want us to do that, they'll just contact us and give us keys too, right? That's the thing.
There's that.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I bought a lot of supporter packs to give away over the years, and I just contact support and talk to them, Bex or Nick these days, and I just talk to them, and basically I'll just buy 10, 20 supporter packs and pay for it, and I'll get keys instead of the pack being on my account. But that's the entire supporter pack, so that's always possible, I guess.
We haven't seen any information on hideouts yet, right?
Good question. I don't think so.
We haven't even seen how the stash looks.
You know what? Speaking of hideouts, do you guys remember a while ago? I think it was me and you guys. You were doing an interview with the boys over there at PoE, and he mentioned that one of the things, and Mark in particular, I think it was our first interview, mentioned that he was trying to work on a hideout that had tower defense mechanics built into it. Do you remember that?
I recall that, yeah.
I remember hearing that. I don't know why, but I do remember you talking about that on like a little mini game that happens.
Yeah, and I was very excited by that, but we haven't heard anything about that. I'm wondering if that ended up going into PoE too. What if here, I'm gonna get my copium train hard here for a moment. What if one of the supporter packs gives you a little miniature version of Blight in which you can spawn monsters, and then you get to set up your own? I mean, how cool would that be? In base mini game. Tower defense, and Blight can AFK even more things in the game.
We already have some sort of that though already. I bought the I think it was the Voidborn supporter pack, the floaty chest piece, right?
Yeah, I got that one.
And don't you get the chessboard from that one?
How is that a tower defense? Where
No,
Yeah,
it's a mini game. Not
okay, yeah,
necessarily a
I mean,
TD,
fair.
but it is a mini game
Yeah,
within the
And
game.
we have the
I get
Roas.
what DM is saying though. DM wants like a little corner of his map, right? His hideout to have like this tiny little
Yeah.
base layout, and it'll say like round 1, and he sets up his towers, and then he
Yes.
clicks go, right? And then it just kind of does it by itself, and then you come back from your map, and you're like, oh shit, nice, I won. Okay, round 2, go, right? And then at the
Exactly.
end of like the end of the league, some guy's gonna be like, yeah, so by the way, in the little miniature tower defense, I actually broke it, and it just has an infinite sign because he didn't make more than 700 levels. And then it's just going to be like such a great meme that just spreads. Everyone's going to be like, wait, that's a thing?
A mini
It's
game, and there will be a whole
100%.
Discord that gets created for it with leaderboards on
Yeah.
a third-party website that has a million, people that super care about it because there's a website for everything in this fucking game.
DM, did you ever see the Weta racing?
Weather racing? No, what's that?
So I forgot, was it Slippery Jim? I don't remember who it was. Someone. So basically, you know how you can buy like little pets in PoE and you can put them in your hideout?
Yeah.
So someone made like a fucking like a narrow like line like this, like a little race, right? Like a little racetrack. And there was like 10 people in the guy's hideout. And he put like 10 Wetas, and everyone had a specific one. And then he put a little blocker. And then he removed the blocker and said, go. And like all the, they're not literally running in a straight line. They're like being dumb, right? They're just like going in places. But like one of them actually ended up squiggling all the way to the end and making it. It was like a funny little mini game. So for sure, I could see that happening.
Is
Dude.
that how the Roa hideout ended up becoming? Like they took that concept and created the Roa hideout with it?
There's a Roa hideout?
There's a literal race in the game. You can buy a race hideout. The race is Roas in a circle.
Oh yeah, I bet you it's themed off that. Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Many people have lost thousands of divines off that gamble for sure.
Yeah. Now, speaking of actually gambles, we had chess tournaments on the stream a couple months ago.
Oh god.
With high bets. It did not work out well. I lost so much. But no, speaking of ROAs, you guys remember the April Fool's joke? The Pox, I guess, with the Battle Royale.
Well, yeah,
right?
I loved it.
Yeah.
They did it twice, right? And then the one time they even extended it. And they let it go on. Yeah. I love PoE Royale.
They had Twitch rivals in it.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes. I didn't sign
so
up for the Twitch rivals. I should have done it though.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah, and you could win a winner chicken dinner Roa. I'd like 11 of them or something. Oh, it was so much fun.
Fucking hilarious.
Did you ever play DM? You didn't get to play PoE Royale, did you?
I'm seeing here like there's a battle royale in PoE, man.
Right here, I'll explain it. Ready? I'll explain it. Low level dueling. You don't get past like, I don't know, level like 10 or some shit. A giant circle, custom map. It's like, I don't know, think of like Tidal Island, right? Everyone spawns on the end at the beach. 100 players. It goes. You start. There's, dead bodies, loot caches, etc. You pick up your skills. I'm gonna say some BM skills that appear in the game. Blight and explosive arrow. Blight, chaos damage. You literally go up to a guy, blight, he dies. That's it. Pick up all of his loot, go, progress. The closer to the inner you get, the stronger the mobs are, the better the loot. I don't know if they had puncture. Yeah, I don't know if they had puncture. Melee meta was actually cracked. People shit on melee because they would get destroyed. If you were the guy who could generate rage, oh my god, you could gap close to anyone. I mean, how fast do you move at level 4? Not that fast. So if you're generating rage for like the attack speed, I think it was rage that they could get. You could just gap close and be a monster. And eventually the circle also starts to close, and it gets so crazy when there's like 5 people left in the center. And you can see the 2 Giga Chads fighting, and then you see the dumpy people still running around trying to like collect more loot. Oh, it was so much fun.
Man, they gotta bring that shit back. I'm jealous. I didn't get to play that. I'm gonna watch after this. I'm gonna watch videos on that because I never really heard of this.
It was hype.
Yeah. It was a good time. It's like I remember having a really bad start, and the circle closed in, and I was literally standing next to a tree because no one could see me there. So I stood there and accidentally got hit with some stray projectiles, and then everybody saw me. I mean, it was hilarious. But no, I think that they should do something like that, like maybe a map or something, or have it as a game mode, because that shit was the best PvP.
Well, we had Cutthroat, but Cutthroat was toxic because the problem with Cutthroat is so DM Cutthroat was, imagine you're going through PoE campaign, except you know how when you can like create a new zone and stuff in the same zone? Imagine if all your zones are public. Everyone's zones are public permanently. And PvP is permanently on. So if you were really toxic like me, you would get a bunch of bear traps and you just throw them at the entrance of a zone.
So it's like invading in Elden Ring?
So someone would be like, I see that guy in there, click zone, bear trap dead, all your loot's on the floor. Very toxic. Or Glacial Hammer.
I used to bum rush prison, pick up SRS, and as soon as the new zone opens, you go in and you summon SRSs. So the SRSs are outside of the screen, so they don't see you. They run up, and then they see this clump of SRSs. They're like, oh, they're gonna try to run back. You try, dude. That was hilarious.
Do they still do this
filter
shit?
Go off.
No, they stopped doing a lot of this. They stopped doing a lot of. I don't know why. I think because they're just pushing more content rather than more like fun events and stuff. But honestly, even the racing events, Descent and Descent Champions and Endless Ledge, I thought were so good. I mean, me personally, I would rather play them over like a relaunch of Settler. I know not everyone else would, considering like the numbers were pretty big on the relaunch. But so Descent and Descent Champions were basically it's a race, but you're playing solo, and you zone in, and there's like 1 of 8 unique items you can use. And these unique items are like game changing. Like they're never before seen, really broken level 1 stuff, so you can like get rolling. Endless Ledge is literally a straight line ledge that just every time you go from the first one to the next one, the level of the monsters go up, and you go until you die. That's it. And then when you die, you're done. Very fun. And then the Descent Champions, that's the one I was telling you about, where you get like the custom piece, the like unique piece you go in with, and you're also trying to progress, but it's a lot more difficult, and you have like boss fights in between, if I remember right.
The unique piece is like a random piece you get decided at the beginning?
No. It's tied to the class, and you can, I don't know if you got all of them or if you could pick, but like some of them were broken.
The Descent, you got all of them.
You got all of them? Okay. I mean, there are some crazy ones.
In the Endless Delve event, you got items based off your class, which was those items. But that was like a year or 2 years ago.
I kind of hope they do this stuff in PoE too. I mean, I know they gotta like make the actual game, but this actually sounds pretty fun.
I found the link from the PoE fandom, which normally is not right, but Descent Champions is so out of date that it might actually be correct. Let me just post it there.
That's some elite level shade right there.
Well, because the fandom is always out of date, but like they have actually PoE Wiki. Never mind, there's just a better one. There we go. Yeah, you can peek those if you care. Those are like the level 1 starting items that you get. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up. I'm curious now.
Oh yeah. The Blood of Summer with the Frenzy Charge early.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with all this is just making me hype for old school RuneScape leagues. You keep talking about these like wild events and these relic items you can get and stuff. I'm just like, all right, well, old school RuneScape leagues ain't coming, boys.
Restarts are fun. Restarts are so fun. They are, and especially if they're done correctly.
We've been pushing so much over the years to get these short burst races in, because like racing PoE had a very long time frame where it was always a marathon. First off, you had to have a full party, and they had to play for 5 days straight without dying. And then it turned into being more popular solo self, and you still had to play for a week straight without dying. And then it just changed from there. But back in the day, there was these race seasons where there was like an 12 minute or 8 minute?
Yeah, I think they had like a 10 minute, 12 minute, 20 minute, 30 minute, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. First to kill a boss, so like first to kill Vol. Very short races. Very short. And honestly, it's not about like the skill level of people saying like, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. It's kind of like what GHAZZY was saying, where the commitment does not need to be so high, right? Like if you want to log in for a 12-minute race, it's 12 minutes. Like how long? Like that's not that long, right? And it's really fun for 12 minutes because you know what you're doing. You're like, your goal is like finish Act 1, but that's not going to happen.
Exactly. I think my PB on Act 1 is 12.5 minutes, and I had fucking move my speed boots off the gate and then drop the Quicksilver. Like buff to
Yeah.
Act 1. That's my personal best. I've never beaten it. It happened once in 10 years of playing the game. Those races were 12-minute long. So I mean, it was always fun, but it's like I said, the commitment stuff. But to go back to the topic of PoE 2, I really hope that with them having such a focus on it being new player friendly, new player acquisition focused, and all those things being more easier to introduce to them. And they are good or have been fantastic with community events. I really hope that they go back to how they did community events in PoE 1 and deploy those kind of approaches to PoE 2 in that fashion, where the commitment level isn't that high. Because if you want to, I don't want to call it esport, but like the racing scene of competitive play in PoE has for a very, very long time always been super sweaty, super dedicated, extreme time investments. You have to either take free time off your work, be a streamer, or just not have a job to be able to participate. Whereas these things would be more widely open and everybody loves them, like the Battle Royale, like the burst races, like the Descent, for example. So I would love to see that in PoE 2, actually.
You can't even play RF in the events, and I still love them. I mean, what more do you need?
Minions as well, let's be real. You're not getting much from 12 minutes.
You know, the Minions, I was thinking about the Minions today, guys. We were watching the video. We got about halfway through it until we started the podcast. But it was showing, kind of showcasing the Witch Minions a bit. And it's one of the classes I haven't had a chance to play yet. But I was thinking about it. One of the reasons I don't like Minions in PoE 1 is I feel like I know you can like summon them to you and stuff. But Minions in any ARPG really don't feel good to me because I want the constant forward momentum. You know, where it's like, I don't want to feel like I'm dragging them behind or I have to run ahead of them and then wait for them to kill things behind. Like in D4, that's what it feels like to me. I have to go ahead and kill them behind. But then PoE 2 is so much slower where you're like individualizing packs and mobs that I was thinking about it. Having minions like 1v1, like take care of the mobs and you're kind of like standing behind actually feels more like a minion army. Like I like classes that feel thematic. So like a warrior is really easy to feel thematic. You have a two-handed axe, you're hitting like a big hit or something. But minions in any RPG never really feel like thematically like I'm summoning an army that's going out in front of me and killing things, because I'm always dragging the army with me is the way it feels, as opposed to like the army's running out in front of me. And I'm wondering if the slower pace of PoE 2 is actually going to make me like minions more, because I'm actually like feel like I'm watching a battlefield as opposed to just hoping these minions are warping around a million miles an hour.
I think that's a good take. I mean, I think that the only ARPG that I've played so far that gets you that feeling that they are in front of me, I'm the controller of a minion army, is actually Torchlight, which is really fast in the end game. Like super fast. But minions are even faster. So you can run and they're gonna be in front of you. So you get that feeling, right? But D4, PoE, Grim Dawn, like all these games. Yeah, now you're waiting for them to catch up. Like you run up, okay, now send my minions in. Or in PoEs, you run up, you teleport into pack, you convocate, and the entire pack evaporates. You loot and move on, right? Rinse, repeat. That's also why ranged minions feels better, because they might be behind, but you have projectiles that they're shooting that is gonna be in front of you. So, but I definitely agree that the slower pacing of PoE 2 definitely gave the D2 feeling back of, hey, I'm controlling an army kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that definitely changes the enjoyment out of it for sure.
I mean, I remember playing PoE. I'll just call it PoE Classic because it was literally like 10 years ago. So just like literal PoE now. And it was very common to have 5-6 people in a party and take 20 minutes to clear a map. Right? It was very common. Like that was the normal. You would get more people because it was too expensive to roll your high tier maps. And literally in every single one of these, we had a Muntragul summoner every single time, because we had a frontline. Muntragul summoner. I love Muntraguls. It basically gave your zombie limit is cut in half. You get 2 times the amount, and they have like built-in infernal blow, explode corpses. However, I will meet halfway and say that I have played very zoomy minion builds. I've had my minion phase. So I think maybe like 6 years ago, I played Animate Weapon. And Animate Weapon was not a build that you were lagging behind. It was always going forward. The Animate Weapons you would create. So first off, you had to make a custom loot filter to highlight weapon bases. So it's kind of stupid, but you would want a custom filter to just highlight bases. So that way when you're playing, you're just like click, 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 go on, right? And these things would just fly out in front of you and annihilate anything with melee splash. So like that was definitely a build where you everything's dead on your screen. They're just flying out and killing everything. Then I played another build, which I don't think exists anymore. It was a basically there were Wickermen and they used Unholy Righteous Fire. Wasn't very good single target, but when you coupled the Wickerman with, so I crafted a special bow that had Spectral Spirits. It's 3 permanent SRS minions. They last forever. And they have a built-in charge. Like they name lock and charge. And I crafted the bow so it was like, 9-link Spectral Spirits, and then you put the SRS in there. And that was a build where even when I'm not doing anything, the Wickerman and the Spectral Spirits are basically running out and killing everything before I can get to it. And then I really just have to like pump a little bit more for the bosses. But again, PoE is definitely one of those games where you need to work for your build to get to that point to be smooth. There is no way you will have that scope when you just play it. You really have to go out of your way to accomplish that.
Kind of reminds me of the Burn Miscreations
In Invasion League with cast on Death.
No, not the Cast on Death. Like when you snapshotted the living crap out of it. This is like 9.5 years ago. Basically, you could snapshot them so crazily that you could have Burn Miscreations or Burning Miscreations, have an AoE that covered your entire screen. And
that was Cast on Death.
Oh, was that Cast on Death?
Yeah, that was Invasion League. Havoc did level 100 with the Piety. So for people who don't know, in Act 3, when you're going to fight Piety, there are the whippers that run up to you and go like that. Is it those one? No. There's a mob alongside those whippers. It might be the one that lightning warps. It also does Unholy Righteous Fire. But there was a bug at the time where you could like kill your minion and revive it. I don't know what the bug was, but you could give it the Cast on Death gem. And it got all of the support, like the damage and the AoE of Cast on Death, but it was alive. So you would run around with 6 of these minions that literally have an RF, except it's 1.5 screen wide. You can't see it because it's invisible, and they do more damage than they do like instantly. They just kill everything instantly. Like imagine playing.
Nothing could beat it.
Yeah, I can't even explain it. It's like imagine playing RF. But your AoE is past your screen, past the widescreen monitor. You can't see it, and you actually have boss damage. It was crazy.
That's a good description.
Yeah,
because I remember that. Like, I never played it, but I remember seeing it, and I know it was a bug. So that it seems like what you're saying is exactly what I'm thinking about. It was a long time ago, and people would just run, and whatever screen they got to, there was no enemies. Their XP bar just kept going up, and whatever room they entered, it was just loot. Like, that was all the game was.
It's because of what Cast on Death did. It like multiplied their AoE and their damage by a factor of like 7 or something. Because it was supposed to be used when you die, not when you're alive, obviously, right? So, pretty funny.
It was fun though.
Speaking of
you
bugs,
missed out a lot.
I know, I did. Actually, what I did the last like 2 days is I've been going through, and I've seen almost all of them. I got a few more to watch today after this, but I've been going through and watching all of the trailers, like sort of chronologically from PoE 1 to see like the very first one to like the latest ones, and see not only the graphics like improve, but then I'm realizing, just like in TotA League, when they add something I liked but then removed it, that I missed out on a shitload of what people were saying were really cool mechanics that just aren't in the game anymore. Like I was watching.
Can I give you one?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Sorry. Go on. Finish what you're saying. I'll give you.
No, I was just going to say, like, as an example of one I thought looked really cool was the synthesis one, where you like build out your own leagues, your own maps. League. I was like, this seems really cool because I think synthesis in general is just kind of cool thematically. So that's kind of, and then Kalandra looked like, for some reason I didn't really understand why people didn't like the Kalandra one because it looked like the same thing, and I thought that mechanic looked pretty good. But
I'll tell you. Should I tell you the good one, or should I tell you why Kalandra was bad?
Bad news first, good news second.
Bad news first. So in the Kalandra patch, so it has nothing to do with the league mechanic, there was a change that went through that Chris Wilson did not get to really understand the full scope of it, where they basically chopped all endgame loot by like literally like 90-95%. Like it was really bad, like really bad.
It made it ruthless for a league.
Fixed that. Yeah, pretty much. However, here's the problem with Kalandra. Number one, Kalandra had to get buffed actually like about 8 times before it became worth it for anything. It did not become a good league mechanic in terms of like, oh, I do the league mechanic, oh, I get loot, until about a month in, maybe a little more than a month, and people were fed up at that point with it. The biggest issue with Kalandra, for me, is you open up this fucking Kalandra zone and you literally can't use shield charge. You're like not allowed. The way the terrain works, you pretty much have to click to move or use like lightning warp or like standard things. You cannot use standard movement skills because Yeah, because of the way the terrain worked, you just fucking against everything, right? And I'm the guy who uses shield charge on everything always, and I had a problem with it. You never hear me complaining about shield charge.
So it's
So
like
that
the
was
D4 horse, but everywhere.
yes, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly
Got
it. But then there's more. The balancing was screwed up. So the further you go away, like from the tile, was it? The harder it becomes. You would literally get a beyond mob, a white mob. He would look at you and he would do like the beyond beam laser or whatever, anything, doesn't matter what it was. 1/3 of the entire softcore population just died from that attack. The balancing was whack, man. Like you literally come up to a white mob and you're watching the health bar go down like this. And like, he's just gonna drop like 2 wisdoms anyway. What's the point of
it? Was also caused by Archnemesis, though.
Oh, okay, right. That came in as well.
So
Actually,
Archnemesis was one of the biggest issues
forgot
because
about
that
that.
part where you're talking about there, and it also fucked up the entirety of minions because of the Executioner mod, which
Yeah.
they patched to fix. So what the Executioner mod did, or they had basically the TLDR of Archnemesis that what the idea for them was so that when you looked at a rare mob, it wouldn't be a long list of modifiers you had to read. Instead, it would be a modifier name that had a collective of different effects happening. So people could look up and be like, oh, that's an assassin. Okay, he's going to be a little more evasion. He's going to do more higher crit chance, higher crit multis. So instead of 3 lines, it's 1 line. That was the idea of it, part of it. And the loot balance was also part of that kind of change, right? But the Executioner, and there was another one, that Rejuve pods as well. So the Executioner made it so that within a radius nearby him, players could not regen or recover life above 50%. And this applied to minions. And the way minions survive is not mitigating your damage. That's why you see minions having 500,000 HP, or between 200,000 and 500,000 HP. They survive by regenerating their life very fast and being able to take a large hit of that and regen that fast. But if their HP is cut in half, they're just going to start getting one shot because their defense is now gone. And this happened to Animate Guardians a lot. So they fixed it by making that not apply to Animate Guardians, to Minions, sorry. And then they, had a lot of shit happening with Archnemesis, so they fixed it eventually. And then the modifier came back, not as Executioner, but the mod that did that regen stop came back to the game and has been killing AG since because they forgot to add the modifier that made it not apply to minions. And I've been bitching and moaning to them for like half a year about this. Well, actually a year now. And Mark told me 2 months ago that he has put someone is tasked to reapply that fix. We're still not in though.
Okay, I'll go to the positive side of things, but real fast, you missed one extra line, GHAZZY. Executioner also does bonus damage to you and your minions based off of the threshold of HP you're missing.
Yes.
I only know this because as RF, I hate Rejuvenator and I hate Executioner because both of them screw over RF. So let's talk about a good one. A long time ago, there was a league called Perandus. Do you know about it, DM?
What was it? Say it again.
Perandus. Cadiro Perandus.
I've actually never heard of this. I didn't see it in the trailers either.
We had gold. Like gold that's in the game now was in back then. But you had to pick it up and it took inventory spots.
How long ago was this?
I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I'm ancient now, so I'm not really sure. A long time ago.
Is it
so
long ago?
Maybe not that. Maybe
no, wait,
5
no,
years?
it is because I raced.
It's pretty long.
I raced in hardcore back then. Yeah.
Okay, so Cadiro Perandus is really cool because you would find him one time in every zone, I think, during the league, or maybe it was every couple. Anyway, he would have a chance to pop up, and he just has a random unique item, just one random unique item.
Oh, that's cool.
And he asks for gold. So what do people do? They would, run through their zones really fast to try to get a good item. Right?
Sure.
So someone would be like, oh my God, holy shit, I found a hammer. So they open up trade and they'd be like, because I don't think you could buy the coins on the trade website at the time. I'm not sure. People would open up trade all the time. It was very common back then. They'd open up trade and they'd say, want to buy, 50K, like a stack of coins or whatever. So they would get a party invite and somebody would basically, they'd join the party. They'd go to their hideout. They enter the portal and they buy the headhunter from the guy and then they leave the party. And then people would be like, my headhunter got scammed. Like, I got scammed by this guy.
And it happened so many times. The reason I remember Perandus League so vividly is because I actually played hardcore, and this was Beyond was in there. It was a shrapnel bearer, killed me 3 times, and out of the first 5 deaths in high placement in the ladder, died within 3 maps. Every single death was within 3 maps of me getting a taste of hate, and 2 of them came from Perandus. Every time I equipped one, I died within 3 maps. Oh,
I
it's
like
terrible. My
Cadiro.
team hated me after that. We're not giving you one more. It's done.
Man, I missed a lot
Cadiro
of.
Perandus.
I missed a lot of these, dude.
He actually came back in a supporter pack.
True.
Yeah, but he can't do anything. He just like talks shit in your hideout.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the I found out for the first time is that the Trial Master guy, you can actually talk kind of like shit back to him, like he gets mad if you start winning. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I know I always skipped him.
You want to ever piss him off? Just do 10 challenges and then just never do anything ever again. Just 10, and he'll just talk mad shit because he's really insecure that you are a 1-0 champ and you will never lose that ever.
Yep.
Okay,
That's
good to
actually
know. Actually, I want to do because he's in my hideout.
Yeah, or on leagues. I don't know if it applies to him on the hideout from the one like in your map. On league starts, what happens to me is I'll like, oh, it's a T1 map, 4 Chaos Orb. Sure. I go do it, 4C, and then I never do it ever again. And every time he pops up, the 1-round challenger.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, leave me alone. Stop
I hate
it.
that mechanic, but every time that happens, I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna do another one just to make him not say that again. And then that's the second one instead. It was like, come on, man. But 10 was good.
What league do you guys want in Path of Exile 2 the most? Like, which one do you hope mechanic gets brought back?
Synthesis was my favorite league.
For a league mechanic, though, like current mechanic.
Like for PoE 2 or PoE 1?
For PoE 2, I'm saying like which that's currently in the game that is core. Do you want to go in? What part of that do you want to go into PoE 2?
That's a tough question. I have no idea. It's hard for me to think without playing it and understanding how the crafting and everything goes. I mean, I'm trying to think of like a combat one. Honestly, this is a meme one, but I love Harbinger. I love the idea of getting to kill a condensed amount of mobs in one spot, but like I don't really need it to be there. I'm cool with just having new stuff. But I always loved Harbinger. I also don't like Charge though, so it's kind of conflicted.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense that Harbinger is there because of their ancients, right? The age of them. That could make sense. That they existed back then as well.
I just want Blight, man. Bring me back my tower defense mode, please.
Maybe Beyond?
Your goddamn Blight, man.
I gotta at least somebody's gotta like Blight, man. One person.
There's gotta be some sort of bestiary, right? There has to be some sort of INR. Cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a huge fan of the mechanic, but there has to be because it is kind of fun.
I wish that the crafting from bestiary was like homogenized so it wasn't as annoying to keep track of, but it'd be a lot to overhaul, I think.
I bet they're not bringing it just because of, like in the interviews they've talked about, they want to make crafting like kind of less important or less complicated, right? Like the more meta stuff.
I think crafting will be a lot more simplified at the start for sure, and they will choose whether or not they want to add more stuff later.
Well, the statement they've said is that they want every crafting to never take away power from an item. It's always going to add something. And the closest to removing power from an item is the Chaos Orb, which is supposed to add remove, exactly. Every other crafting method is supposed to add a modifier to an item, which I think is a good strategy because it now incentivizes people from being like, hey, I want to pick up something that has like 2, maybe 3 out of 4, 5, 6 mods that are good, and then add the remaining ones. Right? And I think that's kind of like the goal they're having. It also will be much easier to understand for new and newer players as well.
I like that for current PoE when they added recombinators back, because in Recombinator League I did that. I would find gear and keep it, like boots with movement speed without this stat, and then I would merge them. But I think the issue that happens with current PoE is everything is so perfect now. Like, why stop at that when you could just make a 6 property T1 item? And then it feels kind of weird. That's why I like the idea of getting a blank slate again with PoE 2, where everything is the bar is low, and then they will just keep adding. In PoE right now, we're like all the way up here. Actually, we're like on the ceiling, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a position where items you drop on the ground, you loot them to sell in the first couple of days of the league. After that, you only care if the base is good, so you can craft on it. The mods on it, we don't care. Like that's kind of like the general regeneration of itemization currently, and that's going to be completely thrown out the window for PoE2, and I'm very excited for that personally. It's gonna be fun.
So when PoE 1 launched, they sold unique items, right? Couldn't you like build your own unique item if the launch of PoE 1 is a supporter pack?
1K, right? 1K to make it unique.
I believe it was, yeah.
If they do that again, are you guys going to do that?
100%.
I'm always on the
don't think they
fence.
will.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I always want to design an item, but then I don't know. Maybe I just got to go do it one day. Like I've had people ask me if I want to design an item for them in PoE, and I say no. Like I don't want to. Like I've helped people design one, but I've never designed one because of my own choice. I don't really know why.
I like the idea of it, but I think that the most important part from there for me, if you're like someone who's played the game for like we played the game for over a decade, and it's like having that something in the game, it's like that's me. Like I talk a lot to King Kongo, for example. Kongo's Pride, for example. Like whenever he plays it, he gets that item. Like that's his.
Yeah,
That's
I get
gonna
it.
be a cool feeling, right?
Immortalizing yourself into the
Yeah,
game. See, the
exactly.
problem is if someone drops an RF gem, they say Pox.
Yeah.
True, you kind of already have that, don't you?
What do I do at that point?
That's fair. That's fair.
Or if you could make one, what would you make, GHAZZY?
If I got to make it unique,
Yeah, if you get to make one, what would you make?
oh, probably a Minion helmet because of how iconic that's been for many years. It has to be a Minion helmet of some sort. The problem though is that there already is and has been fantastic Minion helmets, like the Baron pre-nerf is fantastic. That's a community-made helmet.
That's a cool one.
By Tank. Tank. I don't want to butcher his name. Tank is something, I think. Insane. And then there's obviously the Wraith Lord for the tier 17 Respecters now. It already exists, right? The helmets for that, so I'm not sure.
Pox, what you have one you would make? You got an idea?
Yeah, it'd be a ring, a jewel, or an amulet, and it would be specifically for PoE, and it would bring back the old scaling of RF. So it would remove the spell damage multiplier, and it would add the base damage back, and then it would do something else to make up for the lack of, I guess, 40% spell damage you're losing as a multiplier. So it'd allow you to be a life-based RF that is more focused on RF, because the only pure RF builds are low life, monostack, or requires 4 mirrors to entry, as entry level. So
I think I would do one that it would be like an amulet, and it'd have like a little chest on. You know how you have like the anvil that's got like the little anvil. It would have like a little loot box hanging on your neck, and then it would just make all loot roll lucky, but do nothing else. So I think that could be kind of cool. Loot drops, rolls twice, and the better of the two drops is what actually drops.
Do you know that some league mechanics have something similar tied to that already?
Blight
Are you
does.
aware of that? It does? Blight rolls
you can roll lucky
I didn't know
chests.
that.
Yeah, you can oil it to make a roll lucky chest.
Wait, but does that actually make the loot lucky, or that just makes a different chest instead of a rare chest?
It makes it where the loot within the chest rolls lucky. Like if you open the chest, it'll roll the chest like multiple times and give you the bear drop.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what I don't know if Ritual has it. I think Heist has it. It basically takes the piece from how it was explained to me, maybe I'm wrong. It takes the piece of gear, uses a Chaos Orb 10 or 20 times, and then takes the highest tier roll of each affix, and then that is the end result of the item you're looting.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or even if it's too OP, then make it we're all corpses and chests or something that you open roll lucky or something. So if you get I don't know if they're gonna have it in PoE2, but if you get one of those maps where you go in, it's just a bunch of chests you open, like the Val Temple or whatever one it's called, and you wear the amulet and you get lucky rolls and all that should be kind of cool.
It'd be fun.
I think there's a lot more experimentation with games for stuff like that when they are newer for sure, because the content is not invalidated yet. Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be a FOMO and meta's gonna shape, and then a lot of things that's fun is gonna
Oh yeah.
disappear. Early
Yeah.
days is gonna be the most enjoyable ever. So I'm very hyped for this launch. Get
I
to have
just
fun
wish
with whatever I want to.
that's true. Yeah, I miss the days of full releases right away. I don't like the
True.
early access stage of stuff, but I understand if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it and you're just losing money. So I understand it from a business point of view. I just miss it from a consumer point of view. I always talk about the old days of, waking up in the morning, getting my Super Nintendo and blowing in the cartridge and plugging the game in and hit start. That's it. There's
Oh
nothing
yeah.
else. That's it.
I mean, GTG has always been good at that. Like the alpha that they have access to is under heavy NDA, and most of the streamers don't want it because it's a heavy NDA, and we can't make content out of it. And then the launch is coming, and even the little hours we have been playing on the playtests have been extremely limited, with not unlimited amount of hours.
That's true.
So we have, none of us have finished Act 1. It's like we get very limited play. So everyone's gonna go in with extremely little information. And it's gonna be very interesting. And then you can compare that with like other games, like for example, Diablo 4 has had streamers having access and guide writers having access. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, if me as a guide writer, like if I don't do it, then I can't make the guys before the launch and everyone else is. Suddenly I'm not, it's not just money, it's traffic and all those things and being involved. And it just becomes really, really annoying, but it's a lot of marketing value for them. So there's that side of the coin as well. But GGG has never taken that route. They've always been very careful in making sure that when people get to play, they get that fresh experience to the best extent that they can. And I think that's a good thing to do.
So one of the questions in chat just got redeemed here is ask about item quantity gems. I actually don't know what that means. Do you guys know what that means?
So way back,
you want one?
Go ahead, Gazzy.
That's just you want one.
Oh, so
like, I don't know, I have maybe 200-300 left in my stash.
So way back in the day, there was not only an item rarity support gem, there was also an item quantity support gem. And as we all know, quantity is a multiplier to your loot, which is OP. However, it was more than that. Old gear not only could roll item rarity, you could literally identify gear with item quantity as well. So I have like old legacy gear, like an amulet with like 9% quant or boots with 7% quant. They're not unique, they're just like rare pieces of gear. So I'm guessing that's what they're referring to. The era of quant gear.
That's something I did not know at all. Someone's saying there's a new PoE post. I'll see if that's true. Sorry, guys.
I linked it in the Discord. I saw it, so I definitely went for
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's in the Discord.
Not Ice Tomb. I find that thing all the time. Hey, Ice Tomb.
I'll pull it up here. Go on, guys. See what you're going to see.
Oh, Veil of the Night. Ugh. No, it's like quantity in general was always rather annoying, but they removed quantity, which was a rather interesting change. But back in the day, it was like you had quantity gems and you had the gear and everything. And for back then, we snapshotted shit as well. Or we snapshotted that with the quant gem as well. If you had enough damage on the minions and stuff like that, it's like it was very awkward. Yeah, I did not like that at all. Veil of the Night, Loctonial Caress gloves, Frost Breath, and Ice Tomb. Now, Ice Tomb and Frost Breath not commonly used that I know of, at least, but Veil of the Night and Loctonial, one is never used. The other one is very commonly used as an early level twink kind of first couple levels gloves, right?
Yeah, with like Frenzy on kill and other stuff, attack speed and cast speed, they're pretty good for leveling.
I kind of like the idea.
I've never used Ice Tomb.
I kind of like the idea of like a Frost Knight. That sounds pretty cool. Almost sounds like Brighter Shores. You got the Cryo Knight.
Brighter Shores, I don't want to talk about that game.
We won't.
Was it good or bad? Like, I never got the chance to play it.
I'll give like a short TLDR. I mean, like the skilling is okay. Skillings are right, just like in every game. The combat is really bad. You can't tell the difference between punching a mob and using an epic two-hander. Why? Because the damage doesn't make any sense in the game. Every time you get to a new form of progression, you unlock new skills. So example, imagine going from Act 1 to Act 2 in PoE. When you get to Act 2, you are level 1 again with kind of like a new tree. And you have to get new gear. But when you go back to Act 1, you go back into your loadout where you're level 13 Marauder with your weapon. The reasoning for doing this is so that whenever they release new content, everyone will be on a fresh slate. So people who are no lifing are kind of like in sync with other people. I believe that is the purpose of it. The issue I had is when you get a new combat class. So for example, you go from like say Squire to Knight to Archer, they're all the same thing. They're all literally this. The Archer can still punch people. There's no skills. The other guy can use a bow, and it makes no difference. So my brain was very confused by the game. The progression felt really off.
Someone says they got a Brighter Shore ad, right? You're like, I'll give you the TLDR Brighter Shore, and then the Twitch hit him with an ad, and it was a Brighter Shore ad.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's kind of my experience with Brighter Shores as well. It wasn't even so much I didn't like the game. I actually do kind of like the game, but it's like, one, I think it's terrible to stream. Like, I think it's boring to watch. And then two is every time I'm playing this, I'm just like, I'm just going to play RuneScape. Like, I think RuneScape's just the better version of this, so I'm just going to play that one instead. Although I do quite like the graphics of the game, and I didn't think the instant scene was as bad of a deal as I thought it would have been.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought there were a lot of good things. I just thought that the progression was so off, which is a problem for me.
Y'all should try Tibia.
I like that me and Pox are both literally playing RuneScape during this podcast.
I am doing no such thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you. I see your screenshot here you sent me. I just sent you my screenshot. I have gained exactly 35,000 mining experience since the conversation has begun. That MLM hits hard.
Oh, 37k agility XP.
Damn, that's better. That's actually better. You got me beat by like 2k.
Oh my god, that is actually hilarious because I literally have Tibia running in the background right now.
Yeah, all of us just.
Oh, it's a screenshot.
Yeah, where's the screenshot?
I can't take screenshots of Tibia.
What?
They have with their bot detection. What the fuck they have? Like taking screenshots, it's really messy. But I'll do this. Where's the Discord?
You can't take screenshots in Tibia. That's fucking weird.
Well, I can, but I would have to dig it up from the folder.
Oh, when you take a screenshot, it saves it into a folder because when you try to hit print screen, it'll be like a black screen.
Yes, exactly.
You can't do like a Windows snipping tool or something. I've played a lot of games like that.
Oh, no, you have to turn that shit off, dude. You're fucking up the entire goddamn layout. Oh my god.
Okay.
Holy.
Where's the screenshot picture screen? Okay, hold on.
All right, I'm going to save this podcast by bringing it back to Path of Exile 2. Are you ready? Saved. And
sure.
Are you ready for the question? I'm going to hit you guys with a very hard-hitting, very difficult question. All right? Are you ready? Hold on, I'm thinking it up. Got it. All right, I've thought of it now. Now that I've stalled long enough. So
I thought that was the question.
No. God damn it. The Ascendancies. We haven't seen Ascendancies at all. Take a gander, a guess as to how you think Ascendancies are unlocked. What's your best guess?
How they're unlocked?
Yeah, how they're unlocked, how Ascendancies are going to work. That's something that really hasn't been talked about that much. They mentioned, like, I think they kind of dropped a hint that maybe it was quest or something like that. They mentioned a little bit, but...
Quest line to kill an epic boss.
Yeah, I think it's going to be story-based progression. So you go through the lore and the campaign quests, and you get to like, oh, this is the big one, blah, 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 and you've now ascended for killing this guy. That's what I think it's going to be. It's not going to be a separate event thing. I don't think so. I think it's going to be completely gated within the quest chain. Yeah. So you naturally will get it as you play it. That's what I'm expecting, at least.
I kind of am going to miss Labs, not because of the traps, because honestly, fuck traps, but because Izaro is, I think, the best written and voice acted character in the entire game. Like, unironically.
Can I take a shot at an impression?
Here we go.
Izaro.
All right.
Where there's a golden key, there must be a golden door.
It would be that line.
Hey, his voice lines are so good.
They are, yeah.
My favorite line.
But how old is he?
Like,
basically, is he gonna be there in PoE 2? Because we kill him in PoE 1.
That's a good question.
We kill him, but I mean, we see a lot of areas in their former glory, and we've already confirmed we're gonna engage with Alva from the teaser they showed us.
Wait, Alva's confirmed?
She's in the freaking lore.
Can I
Oh,
make
But
a
she's a time
suggestion?
traveler.
oh shit. Well, I guess I somehow I guess I don't know the lore well enough. I missed this one. I watched the
I don't
teaser
know the
like four
lore, but I
times.
know it was Alva. But
You
she's
should
a
get.
time traveler, though.
That's true. You should
Yeah.
get Kid and Cat Noodle on a podcast. She's the lore person.
True.
She could
That
tell
would be
you
a good
all
one.
about this.
That would actually be a
You
great.
just call her and have her walk us through it, start to finish. That's an entire stream right there.
But the best Azaro line I think is like a throne is the most devious trap of them all.
Oh,
Like that is
yep.
such a good or the
It is.
loneliest the
Is
loneliest.
that right when you
trapper.
kill him?
Yeah.
Right when you
Yeah.
yeah. Right.
Mm.
He does. He'll say like,
Oh,
"You were
yes.
born for this," or like they say 2 out of 3 isn't bad.
born for. Yeah, he has such good voice lines every time.
They're all
The only
good.
voice line I don't know is when he kills you, because I died in lab like 2 weeks ago somehow. I died and I'm like, oh my god, I've never heard that voice line before. Like I never die in Labyrinth. Forgot what he said. It was funny though.
I didn't know he shit talks you lab. You think I would know this? I die in lab like it's my job, dude. Like it's like half of my hardcore deaths are from the fucking lab trap. The spinny horse shit is actually stupid. You know what's funny is I was rewatching those old trailers and the heist one or whatever one it was where they show the lab traps. It has like the guy doing the spinning blades between them, and I know from experience that he would have been dead. Like in that cutscene, he's spinning between them. Like there's no way. He's way too close to these blades. He's not dodging them. This would have cut him up, and he would have bled out and died in about half a second.
At least you didn't play the old days where to do Uber Lab, you had to find 6 different trials, complete all the trials, then you can ascend.
You just
But
didn't have
back
enough
then
offering.
we had the global channel.
Yeah, the Glow 820. I don't remember what it was. There was a global channel that people would shout in all the time. I have Burning Rage. I have this one. Looking for this. Oh man.
Yeah, and people would invite each other, share it, and that's back then. We had so the benchcraft was not a benchcraft. It was benchcraft from every different master, which are now the betrayal mechanic enemies. They were friendly NPCs.
Yep.
And they every master had different crafts for you available. You had to talk to them individually, but they would unlock their level. The craft was based on their NPC levels. You had to level the NPCs up to level 8, I think it was, or 6, 8,
8 or 7. Yeah,
something like that. Yes, I think it was 8 because then people wanted you got a daily you could do once a day. And, and then you got them randomly.
I can explain this very well if you want. It's ingrained in my head. Okay, here's another thing you missed, DM. So back in the day when Forsaken Masters got released, there were literally a bunch of Forsaken Masters, and like GHAZZY said, you had a daily every day with each of them. Katarina, Verici, Haku, Leo. I don't remember all the other ones. Leo was funny because he was PvP only. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, he was PvP only, and the way you would get crafts nowadays, like GHAZZY said, you unveil them and you have them. Before, you would have to level up everyone. So we actually had verified crafters. One of the guys was named Ector. He was always in my chat, and he was always the first person to hit. I don't know if it was Vegan, Elrion, and someone else. He would hit max. And the reason you would need him is because that would unlock, for example, like minus mana from non-channeling, and I think like multi-mod even was locked behind that. Vegan's like hits cannot be evaded. All the good stuff was locked behind it, so you would actually have to find someone who had level 8, and it was a grind. Like in RuneScape terms, it'd be like 98 to 99, going from fucking 7 to 8. So like people would get to high level, but then they wouldn't want to push the final grind when they could just go buy a service. But some of these events were hilarious. What you would do is you get in a 6-man party and you do a rotation. So you would shout, looking for more for Haku rotation. Haku rotation was really funny. Haku was the guy who would tell you, so you would click the guy and he would open up a portal, everyone goes in your hideout, right? He would say, I want you to go get the spirit. So you run through this random, generated area, you have to click the totem at the end, and then you have to make it out without using any movement skills. When it first released, rocks used to fall when you would click the totem. The rocks were absolutely unhinged. A rock would fall, hit your head, player on the ladder has died. Like, it was screwed up. So people did not do Haku for a bit. Elrion was like a not a tower defense, but basically there was a totem, and you had to protect it, and waves of mobs would spawn, kind of like the one unique map, right? Verici, all RF players were banned from Verici. Minion builds
Minions
too,
as well.
banned from Verici. Verici's the asshole who would say, I want you to assassinate one target in the pack of 8 mobs. By the way, they're white and just fall over instantly because they have no HP.
You can only
so
kill
you
the
would have
one?
to get one. So you'd have to get someone with like double strike. And he'd be like, I got this. And he goes in, he just, double strikes the mob dies, quest complete, and you go to the next guys, right?
Yeah.
Katarina would say stuff like, here are 3 minions. Make sure you click them at the beginning of the map, because if you don't, you're fucked. You have to click them at the beginning, because as you clear, they're soul eater, and they gain like
This just
souls,
sounds
and when you gain enough
horrible.
souls,
This just
it
sounds
was
terrible.
horrible.
It was.
But you would suffer as a community, right?
Yeah.
Like Leo was so bad that if people did not queue up for PvP, you couldn't level Leo for the day because nobody would join the queue for PvP.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, like, people did the rotation and you got more experience the higher level it was. So it was like we sat in 820, this global channel, and we were like, yeah, looking for Haku level 5 rotations. And then there would always be these fucking feel like you get a group, everyone's running it, and that last guy either
He just
leaves and
leaves.
scams the group, or
Yeah.
it's like pops it and everyone realizes, motherfucker, this is the level 2 Haku.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my daily rotation now got ruined. And that got worse for the people that were
Ah.
speedrunning it. So you needed to have like a dedicated group. But then the thing that people started doing that pushed it was that they did a rotation, then they ran maps, and if they find their master in their maps and they haven't used all their 6 portals,
they bring
would
everyone
get
in.
another rotation starting
Yep.
with that guy because he found it in the map, and that's how
Yeah.
you did that's how you
juice
leveled it the
rotations.
fastest. Yeah.
And these are all the people that became the Betrayal Syndicate, I'm assuming, because they're
Yeah.
all the same
Thank
name.
God.
Yeah.
So we
They
could
had
slap them
more.
the living fuck out of them.
Because we didn't like Riker Maloney. We didn't have a Riker Maloney. That was not one, for example.
Yeah. And the it guy, same thing there. And Katarina was the summoner related chaos oriented crafter, and she's like the mastermind there. I mean, obviously.
I hope they do not bring dailies to Path of Exile 2. Something I don't like in indie game is the concept of dailies. At first, you kind of like them because they're like rewards that you're getting, and you're able to like, oh, I get my like dopamine or whatever. I get my reward. But then, 3 weeks later, you're like, I don't want to do this fucking quest again. I'm sick of doing this. This is like the commute to work every morning. Like, it's just part of my day. I don't want to exist.
You want to know my problem with dailies?
Yes.
Problem is, I don't mind doing them. And that's the issue, because what happens is, I play the game 24/7. It becomes a lifestyle. The dailies become part of my life. And then the second I stop playing for 1 hour, I stop thinking about that game, I will never boot it up ever again. Because I didn't do the daily, and I will not touch it. I won't think about it. It's gone.
That's true, actually. I massively prefer games that kind of allow you, like, oh, I'll try this, and then do this, and then do this in the game, where you kind of mix up your gameplay style, and then you get addicted to the game, not to a method that you continually redo.
Yeah, not to the loot or whatever. Yep.
So, big gulps, eh?
Big gulps, yeah.
I think only Pox got that reference.
Wait, what?
So it's okay. So it's from a Dumb and Dumber movie when he walks out of the gas station at the beginning of Dumb and Dumber. He's walking back to his car, and he's got like from 7-Eleven. He's got like a big gulp.
Right, he's got the big gulp.
And there's a whole bunch of guys just standing outside the 7-Eleven, like staring at him, and he's just staring at them, and there's no one saying anything. And he's like, "Big gulps, eh?" And then just walks back to his car. It's like you just try to break the
I
silence.
don't remember that. It's kind of crazy.
Dumb and Dumber, man, my favorite movie of all time.
It was good. Yeah, I like Dumb and Dumber.
So I watched Borderlands.
The movie?
It was terrible. Yeah.
I couldn't make it through. I made like 80% through, bro. That movie was terrible.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it yet.
It was terrible.
I probably won't now.
Pretty bad. Speaking of movies, cinematic for Path of Exile 2. Another great segue here.
Mm-hmm.
In that you were saying you saw Alva, there was another hooded figure as well. The dude that looks kind of like Shaper. He's got like a mask on. You see that?
The one you see in Act 1?
Yeah. So who do you think that is? You have a guess?
That's a good question.
I have no idea. He's
called the
good
hooded one as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, he's in Act 2, I think, though, right? You can see him in the gameplay footage, too, because he's on the caravan, right? Oh, you're right. No, he is Act 1. You unlock him in Act 1.
Yeah, we've seen that
he's
in
like
the
right
gameplay
away.
footage that we've been able to post, and we engaged with him in the forest pretty early.
No, you're right. It is Act 1. Because it's kind of like they're trying to hide him, right?
He cannot be related to Shaper and all of that, because that's like an invasion that came later. Much, much later. And that's where the Envoy and all those things came in. So it can't be one of those. I'd be very surprised if that was one of them, because the Envoy is connected to Maven, and that's something that happened after Shaper and Elder, which came later as a result of Sana, and Sana wasn't born. So, I mean, Deckard Cain, reincarnate.
He warped through the portal back into the game.
Deckard Cain.
I don't know. I guess innocence. I saw the chat saying that. I mean, that could actually not be a bad guess.
It's the problem is
Or
I
it
don't know
could
the
be-
lore well enough. So like I don't know who these people could be, because I thought I was like, oh, he kind of looks like Shaper. So I was thinking,
Yeah,
that
same, sorry.
yeah, I was thinking that looks like Shaper, but then I actually don't know Shaper's role in the lore, or necessarily even what the lore of PoE 2 is. So
I'm not good with the lore, but I do know that Shaper is Sana's father. That's all, because Sana screams about it all the time
Yeah.
when they fight her.
true.
Father, no, and then she dies. No, wait, that's the other part. So that's happening, and Shaper got introduced as in like more of an invasion type thing that happened to the world much later, and PoE 2 is far back in time, right? But I mean, it could also be something as simple as it's a new character, you know.
Could be.
Well,
I kind of want to know, like, what kind of more flashbacks or what's the word? Easter eggs from PoE 1 they thrown into PoE 2. I mean, obviously, Alva time travel. We know that. We know that some of the areas are areas that are in their full glory that we have seen that are in ruins in PoE 1. What about at Siri, for example? Is that something we're gonna see? Sacrifice of the Vol and stuff like that? I have no idea.
Good question.
let's do like a Q&A section to close it on out. I know, guys, you said you had to go. You had to keep it like an hour and a half, right? And we're at about an hour and 20 minutes. So let's do a Q&A section here. Any topics from the chat you guys want to throw out, questions you want to ask, stuff like that, throw it in. We'll talk to the chat here for like 5 minutes towards the end and the topics you guys bring up, and then we'll wrap up this podcast so guys you can get going. Who is connected to the Vol? I actually don't know. As Turi is like the queen of that, right? Is about as far as my lore knowledge goes.
Queen of the Vol. You probably know more than me, and I've played the game for 11 years. I'm very bad with lore.
I mean, Siri is the queen of the Vol. That's all I know about that. But she came with a patch 1.1, Sacrifice of the Vol, right? That's all I know on that. But she is considered. I think her name when you're fighting her is literally Queen of the Vol, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Doriani in that connected somehow.
And then next question here, what's going to be each guy's first PoE 2 character? I think we answered that one earlier. I'm going, I think, Warrior, because not all the classes are going to be available in it. GHAZZY, I'm sure you're going Witch. And Pox, I think you said you don't know yet, right?
Yeah, I'm still like undecided. I'm going to play something new for sure. Maybe Monk, actually. Maybe I'll play Monk.
Monk was fun. What's your opinion of Havoc's video? I know, GHAZZY, I saw you did a react to that one. I watched it on stream last night. I don't know if Pox, if you've seen that one, but I mean, I thought
I need a link to it.
It's pretty good. I'll send it to you in the chat, or if guys you want to pull up, send it to him. I thought the video was very good. He made a lot of observations that I was like, oh, you know what? This is a very correct observation, like the feeling I had too. I think the most astute observation was that the like transmute shards and the alchemy shards are so reduced in quantity that you receive that you end up just prioritizing basically just using the gambler straight up for gear. I actually was not getting like I think I was at the end of Act 2 and had like 1 or 2 transmute orbs. Like I just was not getting those. So I pretty much had a very similar experience, because you'd have to pick up a significant amount of loot. You get 1 shard always between them. This could change like later on. We don't know what the end game's like or anything yet. So I'm sure that could be there. But Pox, GHAZZY, did you have something you want to say about the video before we go to the next question?
No, I think it was really good. On the loot topic, though, something that I really liked was the part that I wouldn't have known unless Jonathan told me. I talked about this multiple times. In PoE1, you get incremental, progressional character power increasing items in the form of flask upgrade, gear upgrade, or gem upgrades from quests. In PoE2, you have that as well. But you also have this feature where you go into the safe zone number 2, and in zone number 2, you'll have a random rare. There's no communication, no interface, UI, anything telling you that there is one rare. When you kill that one, is it going to give you a set loot table of items, a uncut skill gem, an item, or a specific flask that might help you with the next zones, in plural, zones. Because if you happen to not engage with that random rare that's in that zone, that random rare loot table will now be applied to a random rare in your next zone to help you naturally have a super low likelihood of not engaging with it. So you will very likely, in almost all cases, engage with these things. And that, if Jonathan didn't tell me, I would just feel like, hey, I just felt like I had a natural gear progression. So I got enough power to feel like I'm moving forward and feeling better about myself. And that's something that I have in PoE 2, and I'm actually very happy about that. But I wouldn't have known if Jonathan didn't tell me.
Next question was talking about the new flasks. And did you guys see the flask changes that were in that one interview?
Was it where there was no you say, because I just want to confirm.
Go on, GHAZZY.
No, my understanding was that they were going to group them up together, right? So you'd have one life flask, one mana flask, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Basically.
To streamline, which makes sense for controller support as well, and we'll get rid of this whole thing with flash piano, eases up in keybinds, makes it much more smoother, because that was one of the biggest feedback and criticism we had playing on mouse and keyboard. WASD movement, aiming with the mouse, shooting, and you have all your keybinds to shoot abilities. Well, what if you're moving to the right and you have your flask, Quicksilver, that I like to have on number 5? I need to press 5. I gotta move my finger like this to hit it, or stop moving for a split second. It doesn't make sense. But I think that was a good change personally.
Yeah, agreed. Something that I wasn't so much a fan of in PoE 1 was trying to piano key flasks, and then you have shouts and all that stuff. I don't know how you would do that on controller anyway, and it seems like they're definitely
I don't think anyone likes flasks in PoE 1. They just say they like it because it's automated at endgame. Endgame, it's automated, and then it's okay.
I do wonder.
Get, a flagellant flask, or you get a Mageblood, or the poor man's blade shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I do wonder how that will influence Mageblood though. It's probably just not going to be an item in PoE 2 then, right?
I think Mageblood is very iconic.
I don't think so either. Mageblood is much newer. I think there's much better iconic items. Headhunter definitely was the tipping point in breaking the game. There was an era in PoE where you would go watch General Sow Chicken, also known as Cute Dog, stream, and his character is just, literally the whole screen. You just see the Marauder's ass cheek, and that's all you can see as he's just walking around picking up loot, and then eventually they chop that down massively so that your size doesn't ramp up and anything.
Yeah.
Someone else in chat said, what do you think of mouse controller viability? So I'll give you my take on this, and I'll pass it off to, I guess, GHAZZY, because Pox, you haven't had a chance to play the game yet, have you?
Nope.
Okay. So in my opinion, it's significantly better to either use WASD or use a controller, but I think a lot of people are just so going to be used to pointing and clicking to move that they're probably going to use that. But the reason being is now actually the direction your character is facing actually matters in Path of Exile too, whereas it doesn't really matter in these other ARPGs. So to give you an example of this, Shields is one such obvious example, being a warrior player. So the way Shield works is it actually blocks whatever actually hits the shield. But if you're backpedaling, for instance, which is something you might actually do in this game due to the nature of phasing not existing, then when you have your shield up, you need to be able to walk backwards while your body faces forwards. So you can't do that on mouse, if you're mouse moving. It's just, you can't do it because you're clicking to move, which moves your character in that direction. You're exposing your flank, basically. So because of that, WASD, where you can actually strafe like it's an MMORPG, for instance, is very useful, as is twin controller support, because you can actually aim the direction you're shooting while you're walking. So I think controller viability is going to be pretty good. Plus, they actually have a pretty significant focus on the UI being usable for controller, because now it's cross-platform and cross-progression. So it's all the same server, and it's free on PS5 and Xbox and all this shit. So because of that, they're going to have a lot more console players, especially with the couch co-op feature. And that's going to bring in a lot of the new players. And so they have to actually make controller be a viable solution, because if you have this game launch, big promotion, it's on console, and then it just feels dog shit to play, people aren't going to play it immediately.
I feel like controller just felt better to play. It was more natural to move with one joystick, aim with the other, with the way it felt. And I'm not a controller gamer. I never have been since I was like 14 years old. And I surprisingly really preferred the controller over mouse and keyboard for PoE 2.
Yep.
It's really awkward to say, but that's how I felt.
Someone says twin stick movement would limit to only using shoulder buttons, triggers. Well, not really, because if you consider games that are even more dependent upon how you're using both sticks, like Call of Duty comes to mind, you're still using the other 4 buttons. It's not like in shooters where you really have to use that right stick. You're never hitting those other buttons. You very much are, like Halo, right?
Yeah.
There you go. I
got
my
those triggers.
No, I don't.
This was golden. Like,
I see it. It's like right here.
We got these from the PoE event, right?
Yeah, Path of Exile too.
Shit.
They actually say Path of Exile on them and all that.
Yeah. So these triggers is fucking golden. So you have 4 extra buttons as you're playing.
You want to know a secret? You can have the exact same one too. They're not actually like... Basically what they did is they went to the website. You can go to the Xbox website and you can customize a controller and then just have it like an engraving like on the front. So you can literally order the same thing. If you're watching this and you want one of like the content creator controllers, you literally just order one in brown or whatever this color is and then write Path of Exile 2 on it. You can have one in...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was offered $2,000 for my controller.
Well, GG, brother. Someone can order one for like $80.
Holy
or whatever it is.
I was like, that ain't enough, man. I'm keeping that, dude.
Well,
I didn't want to sell it, man.
GHAZZY, feeling regret right about now. Could have funded that hot tub.
Now I would have felt bad if I had taken it. So,
yeah. Someone in chat says order a bunch and start selling them. Official content creator only. Path of Exile 2 controllers.
Has someone done that?
No,
Probably.
He's just memeing. I mean,
I was offered $2,000 for mine, and I was like, bro,
who the fuck is gonna pay $2,000 for a literal brown controller that just says Path of Exile 2 across the front?
Don't ask me, man. I even turned it down like a moron.
Jesus, dude.
Holy shit.
All right. Well, 1 or 2 more questions here from chat, and then we'll wrap it up. I know, guys, you're hitting the end of when you have to go here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 1, 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up here, boys. Or you guys have any topics while we're waiting on a question, or you have anything you still want to cover? We haven't had a chance to talk about OSRS leagues yet, but I guess that's not really the point of the podcast. So
that's true. That is true.
I'm going to plug that real quick. Me and Pox doing OSRS leagues November 27th. We will be rank 1 in the world. We've both promised
100%.
to each other 48 hours, no sleep, no showers, nonstop. Just go, 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 go. 100% confirmed. Let's see.
100% confirmed.
With skills like totems still feature in PoE 2. There are totems. The warrior actually has a totem that actually triggers off of like things like, I think it was Jagged Ground or something like that. Like there's these effects that...
The melee totems is the only thing we've seen.
True. We've seen melee totems in only one of them, is my understanding. Yeah. I don't remember any other ones. So there is at least a totem.
Data mine some.
Oh, has there been data mines?
There was one more that they found, but it was bare bone info. It was basically a name and tags, and it said it was a totem.
Huh. I didn't realize that.
That was it.
Okay, here's a good last question for each of you. Let's start with Pox. What is one unique item you want to see returned or reimagined in Path of Exile 2?
Wait, reimagined, like a new version of
Either
it? Or
reintroduced, returned, reimagined, what's a unique item you'd be excited for that's already in the game that you would like to see?
I'll give you my most iconic unique item.
Cloak of Flame?
Legacy of Fury from Maven.
What's that one do? I don't think I know that off the top of my head.
Legacy of Fury was the worst item in the game off Maven, and then they buffed it to state. So it scorches enemies in an AoE, which you can scale with ailment effect, so that reduces all their res. And when you kill an enemy who is scorched, it has a chance to create a burn based off of the max health of the mob. So it's before Chieftain RF meta, you would play a regular RF Inquisitor or Jug, and your goal is to farm Maven to get those boots, because they make your hero go from garbage clear speed to at the speed you can shield charge.
That's a good one. I'm more in line with like either Darkness Enthroned, because I made that one of my Voidborn uniques, or also an Atsiri item, which would be very iconic because back then they were like the golden ticket, and then they fell from grace. Acuity.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Serious
Yeah.
Acuity. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, they had Vault Pact when after you've crit recently, which was the insta leech, and they were like the #1 money making drops from that boss back in the day. It was great. That and the axe was actually money back then.
His favor.
I think
also, well, everyone's wrappings went for 200x back then as well. So this is a long time ago.
I think I'm going to go with like what is a replica Dream Feather, like the one the armor stacking turns into damage. Because I think the very first build I want to do is like a faux ZDPS pure armor, stacking tank. I like the idea of more plate mail. It used to be kind of like Frost Mage is like kind of the style I like from like classic WoW, for instance. I like Blizzard and all the the mages and sorcerer. But as I get older, I've started to like the heavy armor, faux plate mail, big shield, tank, as much HP as I can get. So I think I want like an armor stacker. I think armor stacking is something that I hope comes back to the game. I'm also curious if like attribute stacking in general is something that's really going to be coming back to the game, because now you can kind of, on the small nodes, you can actually choose what attribute you want, right?
That sounds cool. I think I remember them talking about that. It's like a blank note, not a blank, but like a see-through thing, and you just select what you want.
Correct. Yeah, the travel nodes, now you actually pick it. So it's a little bit easier to just get the skill gems you want. But then something they're doing with skill gems too is you always need 5 more attributes for the next gem. Like, it doesn't matter how many points you have in like Dex, for instance. If you want to put another green one on, you need 5 more than whatever you got. Yeah, so like they want like a chase of you're always having to like
balance.
Yeah, to keep it from just being like you can wear sort of whatever, I suppose, is something they mentioned. So that would be an answer to that question. So I guess leave the last word to the guest this evening, lovely Pox. Follow our boy Pox. You can find the link at the top of the chat. Or if this is you're watching on YouTube, you can find it. GHAZZY will link to the boys' YouTube and Twitch channel there as well. You can find it. Follow our boy Pox. Any last things you want to say before we wrap up and get you guys out of here?
No, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, as usual. Just talking about video games.
Yep. Thanks for coming, brother.
Well, what is it, 4th, 5th time you're here? We'll have a 6, 7, 8 soon enough. Don't worry about that.
I want to say 4th. Oh, I was going to ask you the last question. Talkative Try is doing like a bajillion podcasts in a row before. Are you one of the dudes? Are you on the list of his like? You are. Yeah, you're doing on the list. How about you, Pox? Are you on the list?
I didn't see this anywhere, so I have no idea.
He's got like I think it's 20 days before the launch of Path of Exile 2. He's got like 1 million, like every single content creator is doing like a podcast thing, basically. I was just wondering if I got one of those also.
I have no idea.
All right.
If somebody doesn't Discord me, I have no idea because I ignore like everything else, sadly.
Yeah, true. All right, fair enough.
I remember sending you a Twitter message.
Don't
2 years later.
Don't send me a Twitter message. I don't use that.
I learned that the hard way.
All right, GG. That's the wrap up of this episode. I know you got to go, GHAZZY. We'll wrap it up here. Recording is finished.